How could you possibly still think that vaccines cause autism? There have been multiple studies proving that vaccines don't cause autism. Hi, I'm Dr. Brittany Todd, and I'm going to demonstrate how these studies were conducted to show you exactly why I don't think they settled anything at all. I'm not saying vaccines cause autism. I'm saying we have no idea because these studies were not conducted the way they should have been. Let me demonstrate. I like to show visuals. I'm a homeschool mom. I like to make things very clear. Let's say you're trying to figure out if kiddos have tree nut allergies to almonds. Almonds are tree nuts. So are cashews, pistachios, pecans, walnuts, all tree nuts. And you're trying to decide, do almonds cause a tree nut allergy? So obviously you design a study. Let's say we design a huge study, which means we have 100,000 children in both groups. That means that we probably have the power in the study to find a statistically significant difference between the two groups because we have a huge study. Let's pretend like one group, 100,000 children, get no almonds. But the other group, 100,000 children, get almonds. And you look to see the rates of tree nut allergies between the kids who don't get it and the kids who do get it. And it turns out they both have the same rate of tree nut allergies. Even though they didn't get almonds, same rates. Therefore, almonds don't cause a tree nut allergy because both groups had the same rates of tree nut allergy. But what I didn't tell you is that both groups also got cashews, which is also a tree nut. So this group had 8% of their kiddos have an allergic reaction. This group had 8% of their kiddos have an allergic reaction. Therefore, almonds don't cause a tree nut allergy. Doesn't increase your risk. They both had the exact same risk. But the study didn't tell you that everybody got other tree nuts. That's what happened with the MMR vaccine studies, the Danish studies in 2002 and 2019. They looked at MMR versus no MMR. They gave one group the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine. They did not give the other group the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine. And they found no difference in autism rates. But what they don't make super clear until you read the study, and if you're a provider, you better be reading the actual study, is that the kiddos also got all other vaccines. DTaP, H influenza, Hep B, polio, pneumococcal, they all got the other vaccines. So it doesn't settle the vaccine autism debate. It settles that MMR alone, compared to no MMR but with all other vaccines, didn't cause autism. But what if DTaP does? What if DTaP, diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, that both groups got, also causes autism? Would there be a difference in the groups? No, because they both got DTaP. What if hepatitis B causes autism? They both got Hep B. What if MMR does cause autism, but so does Hep B? So both groups had the same rates of autism because both groups had any of the other vaccines. How you settle the autism debate with that, you can't. And if you're an honest provider, you have to say, yep, that's a major limitation of the study, which is why people are saying, can we do a study that compares no vaccines at all, so unvaccinated kids, to any vaccine? Any one, all of them, doesn't matter. Just can we take an unvaccinated group and look at the vaccinated group? The problem is we've done a couple of those studies. They're silenced. No one will publish them because they don't look good. But let's say in 2025, another study came along, also from Denmark. Denmark likes to do these autism studies. And they were looking at level of aluminum exposure. So it wasn't a specific vaccine like MMR versus no MMR. This time it was aluminum exposure, which is a surrogate of vaccine uptake, right? If you have aluminum exposure, it was because you got a vaccine. So what they did is they looked at no aluminum exposure, which indicates they probably didn't have any vaccines. They had a very small group of those. They compared that to a low dose exposure of aluminum, compared that to a moderate dose of aluminum exposure. Let me pull these back. And then a high exposure to aluminum. I'm going to put this paper here because it's kind of hard to see. So this is no aluminum, low exposure, moderate exposure, and high exposure to aluminum. And what they did is they looked at chronic diseases, including autism. And they looked at this one compared to this one compared to that one. But did they look at the no aluminum group? No. They included them, but their rates of chronic diseases, including autism, were lumped in with the low aluminum group. So they essentially got rid of the no vaccine group. And what did they do? They didn't compare this group, the low group, to the high group. They compared the low group to the moderate group, which was just an incremental increase in aluminum exposure, but still exposure. They got rid of their no aluminum group. And one has to wonder why. They could have easily done a study with that fourth group. They were already comparing 3 other groups. Why wouldn't they just keep the no aluminum group and assess its safety or chronic disease levels compared to the other groups? Why wouldn't they do that? One has to wonder. My thought is they probably saw a difference and said, we don't want to publish that, so let's just lump them in with the low dose aluminum exposure, because that dilutes the no aluminum group and says, basically, we have the same rates of chronic exposure. And then they compared this to the moderate, and the rates were about the same. Then they compared the moderate to the high exposure, and the rates were about the same. These are the autism vaccine studies that we have. And as a provider, you should look at that and say, oh, I'm glad they're looking. But the methods are wrong. The question is not, does this one specific vaccine compared to all the others cause autism? No. The question is, do any of the vaccines cause autism? And the only way to do that is to look at a vaccine versus no vaccine at all. And I don't mean, oh, they got their childhood vaccines 3 weeks ago, and then in the study we gave this one MMR and that one not. I mean no vaccines at all. Because if any of the other vaccines cause autism, then you're going to dilute the autism of the other vaccines. You're going to have the same rates of autism in both groups, no matter what you do. It doesn't matter. What you have to do in order to settle the debate on autism or chronic disease in general, you have to look at children who did not have vaccines and compare those to children who did. And if you want to go a step further, compare it to each individual vaccine. That's great. But don't come at me and don't come at any other parents or providers who say the autism debate is settled, because it's not. If you're honest and you read these studies honestly, you should come to the same conclusion. You should say, this is kind of weird that they diluted the only no aluminum group. This is kind of weird that we compared vaccines to vaccines. Never once have we compared vaccines to no vaccines. That's why I still push this. That's why I have not closed the door on vaccines and autism. That, and there are hundreds of thousands of parents who believe that their child changed right after their childhood wellness visit when they got vaccines.